Welcome to another video and audio here in DFD Mastery. It's good to have a new guest, a new face. Excited to be doing this interview. I've got Dan Brault with me. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Hi, my name is Zack Boothe, and I help people just like you become ultra successful in real estate investing and more specifically, real estate wholesaling. So you can follow along on this YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And also, if you would like to apply for my mastery program, get direct access to me and all the actionable steps to become a successful wholesaler, make sure you go to my website, linked in the description below, and book a call so you can either talk to me or one of my onboarding coaches to see if we are a fit to help you in your journey to become a real estate wholesaler. Enjoy the content.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. So we're going to deep dive his experience and his success that he's had. Really excited to do this. And, Dan reached out to me through Instagram, and he's one of those people that's focused on adding value to other people's lives. Have a ton of respect and love for people like that, and very happy to have him on the show. It's been madness to find space. We're both extremely busy, and so it's been good. So I'm glad we're here and we're doing this. And so Dan, introduce yourself. Like, where do you live, and what have you been focused on this year? That coming to the end of 2020, what have you been doing?
Yeah, so like you said, my name's Dan Brault, up here in upstate New York. I've been an investor for about 5 years, starting with flipping and getting rentals and sort of just doing wholesaling on the side. Never took it that seriously until about 7 or 8 months ago when I really went full time. I have, big on family. So I have my wife, we've been married for a little over 3 years, have our 2 young kids. So family is number one for me. So I've made a conscious effort to organize my business around my life priorities and not the other way around. And so for me, 2020 has brought a lot of opportunity, a lot of struggle, but a lot of growth and change. And so I'm here, I'm excited and just ready to add value.
That's awesome. So I'm going to get into like what got you into real estate and how you got there. Cause I think a lot of people just feel so overwhelmed of like, how do I even get started? I think that's one of the main struggles that people have, but like, let's talk about where you are now. Let's talk about like that transformational life. So where are you at right now at the end of 2020? So you said you've been full-time now for about 7 months in wholesaling. How well did you do this year?
Yeah. So this year, it's amazing the change that's occurred over the past 12 months. I mean, 12 months ago, I was $350,000 in debt. Wow. Due to a couple big projects that went south in a real bad way. A big flip that I attempted, a historic luxury property that I lost over $150,000 on. And then, that took a year of my life and I lost 150 grand. And learned a lot on that one. But I would never do a historic property again, I'll tell you that. Yeah. And then I had also I started a development company where we were going to be building new builds, a lot of communities that we were going to be holding, and had a guy that was running those crews, running the bids, all that. And he basically just ran that into the ground. And, I was at fault on certain things as well, but between the two of those ended up really on the edge of bankruptcy. And so I went about 12 months ago, I said, you know what, I'm done with real estate. This isn't worth it. All the stress. I mean, we were selling stuff out of our house. I liquidated my 401k. I sold my truck. I was going to the doctor because I was having health issues from all the stress.
Jeez, man.
And so
you're married with kids too.
Yeah. I was married with a 1-year-old.
How'd you affect your wife? I bet that was hard on her.
It was tough. Last year was the toughest year of my life by far. Really, I mean, when people say sick to your stomach, like literally I was sick. Like I got an ulcer and I was going to the doctor. Like they thought I had some serious digestional issues. Turned out it was all just stress related. And so it was pretty bad. So I went back to a W-2 job just to create some stability for for my family. And then everything was going great. Everything was good. Got a good job. And then COVID hit, everything just shut down. And I said, I can't do nothing. I have all this debt. I have a family to provide for. And though thankfully I was still getting a salary, I wasn't eligible for any commissions. And so I said, all right, I know there's still opportunity in real estate. I had done it before. I had done reasonably well. But I didn't want to flip anymore because I hate managing contractors. And
that's the second time I've heard that sentence today.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, it's the worst. And so I knew that wholesaling, I had done it before. It was always profitable, but I didn't really enjoy the process. I didn't feel like I had a good system for doing it. And I didn't feel like the sellers really enjoyed the process. It was all just sort of awkward. And so I said, all right, I know there are people doing this at a really high level, and I need to learn from them. So I went out and I got a mentor, I got a coach, and put everything into play. You know, I take action consistently every day, try to get a little bit better. And so through ramping up and all that, through the end of this week, I'll have created about $490,000 in revenue in about 7.5 months.
Good for you, man. Good for you. And how much of that is profit, and where are you at with your debts?
So I'm at 79% profit margin.
Wow.
So
you're
I'm
doing most of it yourself then. Do you have
keeping most of it?
Have you hired anyone to help you get to that amount?
So right now I have a few VAs. So I've had one full-time pretty much the whole time. And I've done most of it by myself. Mm-hmm. I just hired a new leads manager. She started 3 weeks ago. And then I now have 3 full-time VAs. One just started yesterday, and then the other one started the week before. So I'm in the process of getting all that day-to-day work off my plate so I can focus on the higher revenue generating activities.
Love it. So let me understand where you're at now. So you've got over a 70% profit margin. Have you paid off any of that debt, or are you putting it in savings? How are you managing that?
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to have that debt owed to my parents and not to a hard money lender. So there was additional debt that was owed to a hard money lender, and I was thankfully able to pay them off. These funds, thankfully, are to my parents, and so they've been very understanding. So I've been paying them off in just a couple months now. So I've created enough revenue to pay everything off, but not everything is closed yet.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so in New York, things are so delayed right now with closings that, for example, I just had 2 weeks ago, I just had a deal close that was supposed to close in the middle of September. So things can get pretty delayed up here. I mean, especially with COVID, things are pretty delayed. So I've created enough revenue, but all the closings haven't occurred yet.
Yeah, I was just talking to a wholesaler in upstate New York today. Actually, I was talking to Brian about that. And traditionally, your closings are almost double what ours are. So then throwing COVID on top of that, those poor flippers. And so your money costs go up. Craziness. So it's awesome you have a supportive, family, supportive parents that would be able to help you take that debt. I'm sure there's still that. You're obviously the type of person that cares enough if it's causing you physical sickness, that you're not just going to let your parents deal with it. It sounds like you're paying that off. What is your goal of when that debt will be paid off?
I want it to be paid off by the end of February. So as long as all the closings are on schedule, I should be able to pay everything off by then.
Right. So this is probably causing other people a lot of anxiety, including myself. Right. The talk of all this debt, and this is why people are so afraid of real estate, right? As they hear these stories of people that take on projects that require debt. So I know a lot of people that listen to the show are new. And so they don't quite understand that there's a big difference between investing in real estate or getting debt or taking risk and real estate wholesaling.
Oh yeah.
So the funny thing is you got into debt, taking bigger risks and like getting debt to buy properties and fix them up and sell them, or to buy land and develop it, or build out projects. Right.
Mhm.
And the scary part with those types of deals is if you spend more, or if you buy and put money into it for more than what it's ultimately worth, at the end of the day, you lose money.
Oh yeah.
Right. But the great thing with real estate wholesaling, which is what you're using to get out of debt, which is really cool, is there's zero risk. So, and what wholesaling is where you do the marketing, you find off-market opportunities, right? Opportunities that another investor would be interested in getting debt and taking the risk for, right? You're just assigning those deals over to them and getting paid. Zero risk. Like if you can't find a buyer, you just cancel the contract. There's zero risk on your part. And so let me ask you this, like, why didn't you just start with that? Why did you decide to go get into all this debt and try and do real estate investing in my opinion, the hard way?
Yeah. So when I first started in real estate, I didn't know about wholesaling. I had no idea it was a thing. And I find that's pretty common, is that most initial investors don't even know what wholesaling is. And then I think I found a couple of properties on Craigslist, and these private individuals were selling these properties. And when I got to the closing and I saw what they were making, after two of those purchases, I was like, man, I gotta just get those properties myself. I need to figure out what they're doing, how they're getting them. And I asked them, and they wouldn't share how they found these properties. So yeah, I didn't even know about it. But you're absolutely right. There's some glamour to flipping, right? There's shows about it. I don't know how many HGTV shows that have come out about flipping. There's not a single one about wholesaling.
Right.
It's not sexy. There's no before and after. It's just contracts.
Right.
But the margins are a lot better, and there's a lot less risk, and you can get into it with a lot lower capital requirements. So you don't need a ton of money to start wholesaling.
Right.
So it can be very expensive if you have this big marketing budget and a big team, but you can scale up to that. So you can start with door knocking, driving for dollars, sending out mailers. That stuff isn't that expensive.
Right.
There's a lot of ways to find properties that isn't super expensive and generates a return that allows you to have minimal risk to still get the capital, to get the ball rolling, so that you can start expanding that budget, start hiring out, so that you can start to grow your team and grow a real business.
Love it. So before we break down, all of that revenue you've created this year and what exactly you did, and give some actual like to-dos and tasks for people to get started, right? Actionable steps for people. Let's back up and talk about what got you into real estate in the first place. What got you into wanting to do the flipping and to get into that space? What were you doing before that?
Yeah. So when I started in real estate, I was in medical device sales. And it's a great job. I mean, 6-figure job all day. But there was two things. I always knew that I wanted to have my own business and work for myself. And I was looking into my investment options for retirement savings. I didn't like my options in the stock market. There was so much volatility and uncertainty, and really for me, a lack of control. I was putting my faith in someone else to do a good job, and these big companies, and you could work with all these advisors, but you never know if they know what they're doing, and a lot of times they don't. So for me, I started doing some research, read a lot of books, and came across real estate as an option for investing. At that point, I read as many books as I could find.
As I can see behind you. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, big reader. So yeah, started reading a ton of books, watching YouTube videos, went on social media and found as many investors in the area as I could and started interviewing them. I would take them out to lunch or coffee and just pick their brain. And so I started to acquire a few rental properties, started doing a few flips, and then started doing wholesaling just a little bit. But like I said, never took it that seriously. It was just, I would sell a property if I had too much other stuff going on. And so it was never really a full-time thing for me.
Gotcha. And so you started reading these books, but like what exactly, like why real estate? Because there are other things, right? Like you said, stocks was an option, but you didn't like it for certain reasons. Like what about real estate that really pushed you towards real estate? Like what in the books made you excited?
Yeah. There's so many advantages. So for specifically owning real estate.
Yes.
So a lot of there are tax advantages. You get the depreciation, a lot of write-offs. It's a physical, tangible asset that it's not going to go anywhere. You can't steal a house. No one can pick it up and walk away with it. Right. You can actually do things to improve its value. And you can get not only the cash flow, but the equity build up. And you can own a property that if you have tenants in there, they're paying down the mortgage for you with their rental payments. And so they're paying off the mortgage and taxes for you. And you're getting cash flow on top of that. And you're getting the depreciation on the back end. And then so each year you own something that's worth a little bit more. And so it's like a dividend that keeps getting better and better as you go.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot more control and just so many benefits that you would have to wait for years and years in most other investing methods like stocks. And I'm just too impatient for that.
The way tax code is written, you have benefits in real estate that don't exist in any other income class or investment class.
Absolutely.
All right. There is government incentivized programs and systems and tax advantages that only exist in the world of real estate. And so like, that makes real estate so amazing. Like you talked about, the other thing I love about real estate is, I've held a lot of real estate and I don't hold very much of it right now. I'm planning on picking up 5 to 10 more this year though. And I plan on buying them all with non-recourse loans, meaning if I buy a piece of real estate, I have zero risk. Like for example, if I can't make the payment, they just take the property back, right? Yep. That it doesn't affect my personal income. They can't take my personal house, my personal cash. They can't touch any of that, right? They just take the asset. And so if you get debt to buy stock, a lot of times you're giving personal guarantee. I'm not a big stock guy. Maybe I'm saying something I probably shouldn't say. Someone's gonna be like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's true. I don't know anything about stock. But the thing is I understand that, real estate, you have so much opportunity and risk-free opportunity if you understand it. Because so many people, I've heard people ask me many times through my social media platforms, like, okay, what's the safest investment? What's the most guaranteed investment? And I would say the investment you understand.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, is it really risky to drive? It's like, well, if you're 16 and never been behind the wheel, it's probably way more risky than someone that's been driving for 20 years. Yep. Right? They understand how to drive, right? They've experienced snow. They've experienced driving at night. They've experienced things that other people haven't, someone that hasn't done it has experienced. And so, what would be your advice? Someone that's just getting started, you've gone through, you've made some hard mistakes. You've read a lot of books. You've got your hands dirty. You've had to go to the doctor for stress. You found a very risk-free way to make a lot of money, which is my favorite strategy, real estate wholesaling. What advice would you now give to someone that's just starting? What would you tell them? What would be the path that you would give yourself if you were starting over?
Yeah. So I would lead with this, and that is at some point, you need to just take a leap of faith. I find so many people get stuck in education mode and they get stuck in YouTube University. And it's good and bad because there's so much free content out there and you can learn so much about how to get started and what to do, what marketing methods, how to set things up. You can learn a lot for free. But there's also so much information out there that people get stuck just consuming information and they don't actually do anything with it. So the most important thing that you can do is actually make a plan and take action on the information that you've learned, because knowledge unused is the exact same as not knowing it to begin with. So if you're looking to get started, just know that you're never going to be ready for everything. You're never going to feel 100% ready, no matter what you're doing. Because if you wait till you're 100% ready, it's never going to happen. You're never going to feel that certain that you know every single little thing that could happen. What you do need to be certain about is that you can learn it and that you're willing to try. Because no matter what you do, you're going to make mistakes. It's guaranteed. You will make mistakes. No matter how much education, how much you've learned, what gurus you've worked with, you will still make mistakes. So know that going in and just take action, a little bit of action each and every day. It's not the big, massive action that makes the big difference. It's the small incremental growth each and every day. It's the consistency that will push you along and get you to the point where you go from day one having no idea what you're doing to 1, 3, 5 years later, you're earning easy 6, 7 figures a year. And this is a walk in the park.
Love it. Love it. Let's jump into the action steps. You know, now that you're talking about those action steps and just staying consistent, what were those action steps that generated so much money for you in your business this year?
So for me, one of the areas where I see a lot of people make mistakes is that they go halfway in and they are not in it to create a real business. So it's so easy when you see people posing in front of Lamborghinis and Bentleys and mansions and stuff. It's that part looks super glamorous. You say, I want that. I want to do that. Oh, wholesaling, that looks easy. Well, it's just as difficult as any other business because it is just that, a business. And yeah, you can have a reasonable amount of success if you're just sort of a one-man show and you're sort of winging it, but you're never going to be able to scale and grow into a real business where you can afford to step aside, have other people take over responsibilities and not lose quality. So having the mindset of treating it like an actual business is key. So setting up your systems, learning how to actually run a business, what the structure looks like. And a lot of people who've started in wholesaling, they don't know how to do that. Well, there's a lot of people you can learn from that can show you how to run a business. There are tons of books. I mean, I think one of the most popular books read by wholesalers is probably Traction by Gino Wickman. I mean, it seems like everyone knows that book because it's such a good system, the entrepreneurial operating system. And this isn't just for wholesalers. It's used worldwide. It's a worldwide organization, EO. It's phenomenal. They have a ton of amazing resources that you can download for free on their website. The book will tell you how to structure a business, how to run your meetings, what your organization and accountability chart should look like. So who's in what roles, who's doing what, who's responsible for what. That's where a lot of people lose the connection of taking it into a real business and having that lasting success and being able to really gain momentum so that it's not a big risk when you start upping your marketing budget. Because if you don't know what you're doing and you're not running a good business and suddenly you decide to spend 10 grand a month on marketing, well, you're going to be wasting a lot of that money. It's just, you're going to have too much. You can't handle it. There's not a good system for filtering it all and following up. So getting that stuff set in place, one piece at a time, it's a journey. you're not just going to say, hey, I read all this stuff and now I'm ready to wholesale 100 houses a year. No, it's not going to happen. It's a process. It's a journey. You have to learn, make mistakes. So number one, go into it. If you're serious about this, go into it knowing that it's going to be a business, and it's just a business that happens to have better margins.
Love it. Love it. So, this has been very educational, very informational for people. The book Traction is a very good book on building business and managing businesses. I've learned some very, very good lessons in there. What other books would you advise? Last question. What other books would you advise to wholesalers? Maybe negotiation books, or, what good books have you read for wholesalers?
Yeah. So in the end, wholesaling is a sales and marketing business. So if you're reasonably good at sales and marketing, you're probably going to have success in wholesaling to some degree. So you need to have your sales on point. So one book by Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. Great book. Former FBI hostage negotiator. Now he teaches sales tactics. So really, really good. Highly recommend that one. And then there's a whole series of books, but I use the Sandler sales method for my sales training. So, you can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar, asking questions the Sandler way, the Sandler rules. There's a whole host of different Sandler books, but for me, that method applies so well to wholesaling. And for me, getting that system in place and having that really strong sales method and system that I follow is what's allowed me to gain the traction that I've had.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your experiences with us. And anyone that's listening to this, if you would like to have a mentor or a coach to help you through the process, give you the actionable steps that you might need to do real estate wholesaling, you guys can apply on my website. It's by application only. You go to my website, dfdmastery.com, hit book a call, fill out the application, schedule a time to talk with us, and either myself or one of my onboarding coaches will be talking to you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. Dan, again, thank you so much for being here and sharing value. What would be the best way for people to reach out to you if they want to talk to you or get in touch with you?
Yeah, Zach, thanks for having me. So best way to reach me is on Instagram at @ActionDanBro, and that's Bro, BRO.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. And I'm sure we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, man.